My name is Rita, and I've worked for Madame Linda for almost 10 years. She is not just rich, she is very rich. She owns big shops, buildings in town, and even one company that sells beauty products. People respect her, women admire her, and men, they chase after her like flies. She is tall, beautiful, educated, and only 34 years old. But for many years, she had no husband, not even a serious boyfriend. It wasn't because men didn't come. No. In fact, every week, one man or another would come to the house with flowers, expensive wine, or fake tears. But Madame Linda knew the truth. They didn't love her. They loved her money. They loved her power. They loved her name. I remember one night clearly. She was sitting by the balcony, wearing a white silk gown, just staring at the stars. Her food was cold on the table, untouched. I walked up to her and said softly, "Madam, you haven't eaten anything." She turned to me with tears in her eyes and said, "Rita, will I ever find a man who loves me for me, not for what I have?" I didn't know what to say. I stood there, heartbroken, because I had seen the same thing again and again. Men pretending to care, only to run after her account number. Then one morning, something shocking happened. Madame Linda came out of her room dressed in old clothes. She wore a long wrapper, a faded blouse, and tied a scarf over her eyes like a blind woman. I screamed, "Madam, what is this? What are you doing?" She smiled and said, "I want to find real love, Rita. I want to know what it feels like to be loved with nothing." She told me her plan. She would pretend to be a blind, poor corn seller on the roadside just near the market. She would live in a small rented room far away from our mansion. She would leave behind her phones, jewelry, perfume, everything. I begged her not to do it. I thought she had lost her mind, but she said something I will never forget. "Even beggars find love, Rita. Why can't I?" That same evening, I helped her carry a small basket of roasted corn to a wooden table by the roadside. She sat down like a poor, helpless blind woman, while her mansion stood quiet and empty in the background. People passed. Some looked at her with pity, others ignored her. Then he came, a young man, slim, dark-skinned, with tired eyes but a gentle face. He saw her struggling to arrange the corn and quietly stepped forward. "Let me help you, Auntie," he said. That was the first time she smiled that day. She asked, "Who are you?" He replied, "My name is Joseph. I don't have much, but I believe in helping people." That was how it all started. I watched from a distance as Joseph gently helped Madame Linda, who he believed was just a poor, blind corn seller, arrange her basket. He didn't know she was a millionaire. He didn't know the roasted corn he was touching had come from the mansion's kitchen. All he saw was a blind woman sitting alone in the cold evening breeze. He stayed with her until her last corn was sold. Then he walked her across the road, held her hand carefully, and asked, "Where do you live?" Madame Linda pointed to the small rented room she had arranged days before. Joseph took her there, helped her carry the empty basket, and before he left, he placed something in her hand. It was N500. She said, "Why are you giving me money?" He replied with a sad smile, "Because I know what it means to be hungry and alone. I may not be rich, but I still have something to give." That night, she came back to the mansion secretly through the back gate, sat in the kitchen, and cried. She kept saying, "He gave me money, Rita, when he has nothing. He helped me. He didn't even ask for my name." I had never seen her so touched. Not by diamonds, not by flowers, but by a man's kindness. From that day, Joseph kept coming every evening. Sometimes he brought bread. Sometimes he brought gari. Sometimes he just sat with her and talked. He shared stories about his life. He said, "I used to have a job at a printing shop, but it closed down. Now I help my sick mother sell sachet water." He never complained. He never asked for anything. He just cared. Madame Linda, still pretending to be blind and poor, started falling in love. Not with his face, not with his voice, but with his heart. And I could tell it scared her. She asked me one night in tears, "What if he hates me when he finds out the truth? What if he walks away when he knows I lied to him?" I didn't have the answer, but the question stayed in her heart every single day. Then one Saturday evening, something strange happened. Joseph didn't come. She waited for hours under the tree beside the road. She asked every passerby, "Did you see a young man with water on his head?" No one did. And then, just as she was about to leave, a woman showed up. Tall, angry, and full of pride. She looked at Madame Linda from head to toe and said, "So this is the blind beggar my Joseph has been spending his time and money on?" Madame Linda's heart began to race. "Who are you?" she asked. The woman folded her arms and hissed, "I'm his girlfriend, and I'm here to warn you. Stay away from him." What happened next will shake you to your core. I was hiding behind a tree not far from where Madame Linda sat with her corn basket. I saw the woman clearly, slim, light-skinned, dressed in tight jeans and a crop top. Her nails were long and her lips painted bright red. She looked nothing like Joseph. She stood tall and proud with fire in her eyes. Madame Linda asked again softly, "You say you're his girlfriend?" The woman snapped. "Yes, for 3 years. I don't know what you're doing to him, but he comes home talking about a blind corn seller who makes him feel happy. Happy? With you?" Madame Linda didn't say a word. She just held her scarf tighter over her eyes. The woman continued. "He now gives you the little money we have, buys you food, and builds you shade from the rain. You're not even his mother. What are you to him, huh?" Her voice was loud, attracting a few people nearby. I could feel Madame Linda shrinking inside. Not because she was afraid of the woman, but because her heart was breaking. She had grown to love Joseph. His kindness, his heart, his voice. But now this. She tried to speak. "I never asked him for anything. He helped me, out of his own will." The woman laughed bitterly. "Don't act innocent. You blind beggars have ways of charming men with pity. But I'm warning you, stay away from my man. He's mine, not yours." Then she walked away, swinging her hips with anger. That night, Madame Linda came back to the mansion quietly. She sat on the floor of the kitchen with her corn basket beside her. She didn't speak for hours. Then finally she whispered to me, "Rita, am I the reason he's fighting with his girlfriend?" I knelt beside her and held her hand. "No, Ma, you didn't do anything wrong. You're just being loved. Truly, for the first time." She looked up at me with teary eyes and said, "Then why does it hurt so much?" The next day, Joseph returned. He looked tired. His eyes were swollen like someone who hadn't slept. He stood before her quietly for a while, then knelt down beside her. "I'm sorry I didn't come yesterday," he said. "There was a situation." Madame Linda didn't ask. She just nodded. Then Joseph said something she never expected. "I told her I'm done, because I realized something. I've never known peace like I have with you." Madame Linda's heart stopped. He chose her, a blind beggar, over the woman he had dated for 3 years. But he didn't stop there. He held her hand and said, "I don't care about how you look. I don't care that you're poor or blind. I care about how you make me feel. And I think I'm falling in love with you." Madame Linda's breath caught in her throat. She had waited all her life to hear those words. But now that they had come, it felt too dangerous. Because her biggest secret was still hidden. She wasn't poor. She wasn't blind. She was a millionaire living in a mansion, lying to a man who loved her truly. And soon, the truth would have to come out. What happened next will leave you in tears. Madame Linda couldn't sleep that night. She tossed and turned in her soft bed, hugging her pillow, replaying Joseph's words in her head. "I think I'm falling in love with you." That was the moment she had been waiting for all her life. But instead of smiling, she cried, because the love was built on a lie. In the morning, she called me into her room. Her eyes were red and swollen. "Rita," she said, "I can't keep doing this. I have to tell him the truth." I froze. "Madam, are you sure? What if he feels betrayed? What if he walks away?" She nodded slowly. "If he truly loves me, he will forgive me. If he doesn't, then maybe I was never meant to be loved in the first place." That evening, she didn't go out in her rags. For the first time in weeks, she wore a beautiful but simple gown, blue and flowing. She didn't wear any makeup. She didn't dress like a rich woman. Just neat. Just herself. We drove in a small car to the corner where she always sold corn. I watched her walk nervously toward Joseph. He was already there, sweeping the little space beside the stall and smiling to himself. But as he looked up, his smile disappeared. His eyes widened. He stood still. He didn't recognize her at first. He looked at her from head to toe. Then his mouth opened slowly. "Auntie?" he asked in confusion. "Wait, you can see?" Tears filled Madame Linda's eyes. She stepped closer. "My name is Linda. I am not blind. I'm not poor either. I own businesses. I live in a mansion not too far from here. But I've never been loved for who I am. Only for what I have." Joseph just stood there, frozen. She continued, her voice shaking. "I wanted to meet someone who could love me from the inside. Not for my money or my beauty. I know I lied, but I never meant to hurt you." There was silence. Painful, heavy silence. Joseph looked away, then back at her. "So everything you told me was fake?" She shook her head quickly. "No, Every word I said was true. My feelings were real. Your kindness, your honesty, it changed me. I've never met a man like you, Joseph. He lowered his eyes. Then he said something that broke her completely. Do you know what it feels like to be lied to by the only person you opened your heart to? A tear dropped from her eye. She reached for his hand, but he stepped back. I need time, he said quietly. I don't know how to feel right now. Then he walked away, and Madame Linda collapsed in tears. She got what she wanted, a man who loved her truly, but she might have lost him forever. After Joseph walked away, Madame Linda fell to the ground and wept like a child. I rushed to hold her, but she wouldn't let me. She kept whispering, I ruined everything. I ruined it. For 2 days, she didn't eat. She didn't smile. She didn't even leave her room. She just stayed on her bed, holding the scarf she used to tie over her eyes, the same scarf Joseph always saw her in. I tried to comfort her. Madam, maybe he just needs time. He was hurt, but if he truly loves you, he will come back. But she shook her head and said, I don't deserve him. I lied. I played with his heart, even though I never meant to. On the third day, something unexpected happened. I heard a knock at the mansion gate. When I opened it, it was Joseph. He looked tired, confused, and nervous. I quickly called Madame Linda. She came downstairs slowly, her heart pounding. They stood face to face again. This time, no lies, no blindness, no poor disguises. Joseph looked into her eyes. I didn't come to fight, he said softly. I came to ask, why me? She swallowed hard, then replied, because you saw me. Not my clothes, not my money. You saw me, and I fell in love with your heart. He stayed quiet for a moment. Then he said something that made her knees weak. You broke my heart, but I can't lie. I still think about you every night. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Can we start again? She asked. Joseph looked at her and nodded. Yes, but no more games, no more secrets, just you and me. She smiled. For the first time in years, her smile was real. They sat together in the garden behind the mansion, holding hands, not as a blind woman and a poor boy, but as two people who had found something rare. True love. But just when everything seemed perfect, Madame Linda's phone rang. It was a business partner. He said something that shook her completely. You've been betrayed. Someone close to you has been stealing from your company for months. Her smile faded. Joseph looked at her, confused. What is it? She looked at him with fear in her eyes and whispered, I think someone is trying to destroy me. The phone call left Madame Linda shaken. She ended the call and sat in silence, staring into space. Joseph held her hand and asked again, What's going on? She turned to him slowly and said, Someone has been stealing from my company, and the worst part is, it's someone very close to me. Joseph was shocked. Do you have any idea who it could be? She shook her head. Not yet, but my partner said it's someone with access to private documents and passwords. That means it could be a family member, or one of my top workers. Suddenly, everything began to feel different. The happiness she had just found was now being threatened by betrayal. Later that evening, Madame Linda and I sat in her office going through files. I noticed her hands were shaking. Rita, she whispered, I can't go through another heartbreak. Not again. I knew what she meant. This betrayal wasn't just about money. It was about trust. While we were still searching, she got another message. It was from an unknown number. The message said, You think Joseph loves you? Ask him who sent him to you in the first place. Her heart stopped. She showed me the message, her eyes full of fear. Rita, what is this supposed to mean? Joseph didn't just meet me by accident? I was confused too. She stood up immediately, grabbed her keys and told me, I need to find out the truth, for my business and for my heart. She drove to Joseph's house. It was a small, simple building near the market. His sick mother welcomed her kindly. Madame Linda waited until Joseph returned from selling water. When he saw her, he smiled, but she didn't smile back. Joseph, she said quietly, I need you to tell me the truth. Did someone send you to me? His smile faded. What are you talking about? She showed him the message. Joseph was silent for a long time. Then he sat down and looked her in the eyes. At first, yes. Madame Linda felt dizzy. What do you mean, yes? Joseph sighed and explained. A woman came to me weeks ago. She said you were rich but had no heart. She offered me in 100,000 to pretend to care about you and then embarrass you in public. I was desperate. My mother was sick, I had no job, and I needed the money. Madame Linda's heart shattered. Joseph continued. But when I met you, the plan changed. I couldn't go through with it. I fell in love with you for real. I told the woman I wouldn't do it and she threatened me. I don't even know her real name. She always wore sunglasses and spoke in fake accents. Tears rolled down Linda's face. So everything else was a game. Joseph shook his head quickly. It started as a job, but it became real. Please, believe me. She looked at him, heartbroken all over again. I don't know what to believe anymore. She walked away without saying another word. Joseph called out to her, but she didn't turn back. When she got home, she locked herself in her room. Then I found her later that night, sitting in the dark, holding the same scarf she once used to hide her eyes. She looked up at me and said softly, I found love and betrayal in the same person. But who was the woman behind the plot? And why did she want Madame Linda ruined? For days, Madame Linda didn't leave her room. She refused food. She didn't answer phone calls. She had finally found the kind of love she always prayed for. But now, everything felt like a trap. She told me, Rita, he said he was paid to meet me. How do I trust anything after that? I couldn't find the words, but deep down, I still believed Joseph's feelings were real. I had seen it in his eyes, in the way he spoke to her, in the way he protected her. Then something strange happened. A delivery boy arrived at the mansion with a small brown envelope. No name, no number, just a note inside that said, If you want to know who is really behind all this, come to the back of Queen's Plaza tomorrow at 6 p.m. Linda was scared, but she was also tired of being confused. So the next day, I went with her. We wore plain clothes and parked far from the plaza. We walked to the back alley just before 6 p.m. And then, a black car drove in slowly. The door opened, and to our shock, Miss Amanda, Linda's childhood friend and business partner, stepped out. Yes, Amanda. The same woman Linda trusted with her secrets. The same woman who helped her set up her first shop. The same woman who had smiled beside her at every party and called her sister. Madame Linda froze. Amanda? Amanda smiled darkly. Oh, so you came? Good. Linda stepped forward. Are you the one who paid Joseph to trick me? Amanda didn't deny it. She simply said, Yes, I did, and I would do it again. Linda's voice shook. Why? Amanda's smile vanished. Because I'm tired of being in your shadow. You have everything, beauty, money, respect, and now even true love. I have nothing. You always shine. I always sit behind, clapping. I just wanted you to feel what it means to be alone and broken. Linda was speechless. Amanda walked closer and whispered, But it backfired, didn't it? Joseph actually fell for you, just like everyone else. Then Amanda turned and walked away slowly. That was when everything became clear. This wasn't about love. This was about envy. Deep, poisonous envy. From someone she once called family. That night, Linda sat quietly in the garden. She looked at the sky and whispered, I never saw this coming, not from Amanda. And then I asked her, What will you do now? She replied calmly, I don't know, but I need to fix things with Joseph, because he may have been sent to me. But he chose to stay, and that means something. The next day, she decided to face Joseph one last time. But when we got to his house, his mother was crying at the door. She looked at Linda with tears in her eyes and said, They came and took him away. Joseph has been arrested. What happens next will break your heart. When Joseph's mother told us that he had been arrested, Madame Linda froze. Arrested? For what? She asked, her voice trembling. The old woman was crying so hard she could barely speak. They said, fraud, that he scammed a rich woman by pretending to love her. They said he was paid to deceive her. I don't understand what's going on. Linda gasped. She turned to me and whispered, Amanda, it has to be Amanda. She's behind this too. I nodded. Nothing else made sense. We rushed to the police station. Joseph was in a small cell sitting on the floor with his head down. He looked up when he heard her voice. For a moment, they both just stared at each other. Through the bars, through the pain, through everything. Then Linda turned to the officer on duty. I want to drop all charges. This man didn't scam me. But the officer looked confused. You're Madame Linda? Yes, and I never reported him. Someone is using my name to frame him. The officer frowned. But we received an official report in your name, signed with your ID. Linda turned pale. That's impossible. I never signed anything. It was clear now. Amanda had forged the documents. She wanted Joseph destroyed, and she used Linda's name to do it. Linda demanded to speak with the station head. She showed her real ID, and after hours of questioning and verification, the officers agreed to investigate the report further. That night, Joseph was released, but only temporarily. You're not free yet, the officer warned. If we find proof the complaint is real, you'll be rearrested." On the way back home, Linda and Joseph sat in silence. Finally, Joseph spoke. "Why are you doing all this for me? After everything?" Linda looked at him with teary eyes. "Because I believe you, and because I still love you." He looked down, then gently took her hand. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you the full truth earlier. I thought I could protect you from the pain. I was wrong." Linda nodded. "I've been lied to by people I trusted for years. But you, even when you were part of the lie, you told the truth when it mattered." They sat in the car, holding hands, not knowing what tomorrow would bring, but certain of one thing. Their hearts were now tied together by something real. But the storm wasn't over, because the next morning, Linda received a message with a video attached. It was a hidden camera recording, taken from inside her own office. And in the video, Amanda was seen stealing documents and placing fake files on Linda's desk. The proof was finally here. Madam Linda sat frozen, staring at the video on her phone. It was clear as day. Amanda, her childhood friend, her trusted business partner, was caught red-handed. The camera, secretly installed by a tech staff weeks ago after some suspicious activity, had finally captured the truth. In the video, Amanda was seen sneaking into Linda's office late at night, opening a drawer with a spare key and replacing original documents with fake ones. She even laughed to herself and whispered, "Let's see how perfect Madam Linda looks when her business crashes." Linda's hands shook. "Rita, she really wanted to destroy me." "Yes, Ma, but now we have proof." Without wasting time, Linda called her lawyer, forwarded the video, and headed straight to the police station with Joseph by her side. The officers were shocked at the evidence. They had never seen such a clear recording. That same afternoon, Amanda was arrested. When she saw Linda at the station, her eyes filled with hate. "You just couldn't stay small, could you?" she hissed. "You think this love story will last? You think Joseph is your happy ending?" Linda stood calmly and replied, "No, I don't think. I know. Because unlike you, Joseph didn't destroy me, even when he had the chance." Amanda was charged with forgery, attempted fraud, and defamation. She was denied bail due to the evidence against her. But even with Amanda gone, the scars she left behind still hurt. That night, Linda and Joseph sat on the balcony of her mansion. The moon was bright and the wind was soft. Joseph turned to her. "You know, I still can't believe any of this. I met you thinking you were a blind woman. Now look at us." Linda smiled. "I pretended to be blind to find real love, and maybe I was blind, in my heart, but you helped me see clearly." He reached into his pocket. "I don't have gold, I don't have money, but I have one thing." He pulled out a tiny ring, nothing fancy, just a simple silver band. "A heart that will never leave you, no matter what happens." Linda's eyes filled with tears. "Are you proposing?" Joseph smiled. "No, not yet, I'm just promising." "Promising what?" she asked softly. "That I'll be here until you're ready, and even after that." They held hands silently, finally at peace. But the story wasn't over yet, because love found through fire must still pass one final test. 2 weeks had passed since Amanda was arrested. The storm had calmed. Joseph was cleared of all charges. Madam Linda's company slowly returned to normal, and love began to blossom. For the first time in years, Linda laughed freely. She and Joseph would take walks in her garden, eat roasted corn together in the kitchen, and talk for hours about simple things, like dreams, music, and the kind of family they both wished to build one day. But just when it seemed like everything was perfect, her past returned. One afternoon, I heard a knock at the mansion gate. I opened it and saw a man in a suit holding a child, maybe 5 or 6 years old. The man spoke with confidence. "I'm here to see Miss Linda. Tell her it's about something very personal, something from her past." I quickly informed Madam Linda, and she came out. When she saw the man, her eyes widened. "Eric?" Joseph stood beside her, confused. "Who is he?" Linda's face turned pale. He's my ex-fiancé." Eric smiled. "And this," he said, motioning to the child, "is our daughter." A long silence followed. Joseph looked from Linda to the child, then back again. "You have a daughter?" Linda stepped back, trembling. "I didn't know. Eric left me before I could even tell him I was pregnant. He traveled abroad, blocked my number, and disappeared. I gave birth in secret, but before I could reach him again, he had moved on. I gave the child up to a trusted home. Until now." Eric added quickly, "I came back because I'm dying. I have only a few months left, and I want our daughter to know her mother." Tears rolled down Linda's cheeks. She knelt and held the little girl's hand. "What's her name?" Eric replied. "Hope." That one word broke her completely. Joseph quietly stepped aside, watching the woman he loved meet the child she never raised, born from a past she tried to forget. Later that night, Joseph sat alone in the garden. Linda came to him slowly. "I should have told you, but I was scared. I didn't want to lose you." Joseph nodded. He didn't speak at first. Then he said, "I didn't fall in love with a perfect woman, Linda. I fell in love with a real one." She covered her face and cried softly. "Can you forgive me?" He held her hand gently and replied, "I already have, and if that little girl needs a father, I'm right here." Linda looked at him through her tears. "You'd accept me, and my child?" Joseph smiled. "I didn't come for what you had. I came for who you are, and I'm staying for both of you." She hugged him tightly, and in that moment, under the stars, the story came full circle. She had pretended to be blind to find true love, and love had found her, not just as a woman, but as a mother. For watching this powerful story. Sometimes love finds us in the most unexpected ways, but when it's real, it sees beyond wealth, beauty, or status. Remember, the right person will love you, not for what you have, but for who you are. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to Precious Inspired TV for more emotional and life-changing stories. Until next time, stay strong and stay inspired.